My name is Haley Torberg, and
I'm Shelby Carson. I'm co-directing a film called 2020 One Week on Campus.
This film takes a look at the recent pandemic, politics, and protests, and it takes a look at all of the students' perspectives because everyone's going through the same issues right now, some a little more than others, but we wanted to take a look at how it's really affecting college students because it's such a crazy time in all of our lives. Being co-director of this film, I had to make a lot of decisions, pre-production, production, and post-production. There was all things that had to be discussed. We have to make sure that we have the content that really means the most to the audience.
I'm most proud of all of the people that took the time to be in this film or work on this film. Because of the pandemic right now, everything is up in the air, and the fact that people were willing to share their opinions and kind of vent for a little bit on film, which a lot of random strangers don't really like doing. So having all these willing people to participate in our film was really nice.
Over the past several months, everyone's life has been impacted in one way or another. The world has drastically changed not only by the pandemic, but the protests and politics. Students have risen up to the opportunity to use their voices in order to create change, and it's a time that we have never experienced before.
I think it's just kind of beautiful. It's like seeing a rose blooming through concrete on the street. Obviously situations aren't ideal, but just seeing people really persevere and doing their best to enjoy themselves in like less than optimal situation. It's really nice to see.
My fall this year has been much less exciting than last year for sure, just because I know that I can't hang out with all the friends that I want to hang out with, anything social really.
I feel like the college experience part of it, where you're hanging out with people and getting to know everyone, has really dwindled. I'm still learning academically, but I could teach myself like a lot of the stuff I'm learning. Most of the things are from the book.
If there's a day where I'm not particularly feeling safe to go into class, it's nice to know that I have that online option to do. And I have done that a couple times where there have been a couple COVID scares, but it's been super nice that I've been able to just go online for like a couple weeks to make sure that I'm going to be safe. And all in all, I feel like WSU has done a pretty good job at making me feel comfortable during the pandemic.
Working with housing and res life, we've been doing as much as we can to keep people enjoying their, freshman college experience while still being socially distant and COVID-19 conscious.
On the bright side, I've gone out a lot more into nature, and I've been doing a lot of paintings. I just got this plant because I had like a really rough couple weeks, and I was like, you need to go get a plant because plants really make me feel better, because then I have something to take care of. I think winter's going to be really hard this year, especially with like all the social stuff being basically obsolete. So because I've been spending so much time in nature, I'm really trying to bring nature into my apartment so that it's less difficult when I can't go hiking all the time.
There have been positives, like having a lot more time to myself, time inside to work on things that I otherwise wouldn't spend time on. I've been working on, music or any other really hobbies that don't involve socializing. Being a musician in this time is definitely very different. There's almost no opportunities to do live shows or anything of that nature. It's also much more difficult to get together with other musicians and collaborate just because everyone has to keep in mind the pandemic and all that.
The pandemic outside of college has really shown a light on some of the political division that we have in this country. it's been really hard to see like the country dividing. I'm sad to see how some opportunists have taken the opportunity to, riot or whatever, do some public damage, but from what I've seen and what I've experienced to the multiple protests that I've been to, people are really out there just like trying to unify as a populace as the country is dividing.
I'm originally from Barron, Wisconsin. I'm studying criminal justice corrections. This is my third year here for the football team. We were planning on having fall practice, but that got canceled. And ever since then, no field until yesterday was the first time on the field. The weight room has been limited, for safety reasons, and we're just trying to do the best that we can with what we have right now.
I really enjoy music and business. I'm the productions director here at 89.5 KQAL. What I do at the radio is I do production, so I make like imaging and ads and little goofy gaffes. That was Horse Graveyard by Sandman the Rapping Cowboy. You're listening to 89.5 KQAL. Keep listening. We'll be right back to chat it up with you in a second. I was supposed to be doing a show 5 days a week all summer, and then COVID hit, and so that got canceled. So then school opened up and the radio opened up, and I was super stoked to get in and start doing it again. And like 3 hours before we were going to go on, I came in and saw that they just shut everything down.
The moment I had read that email about the 14-day quarantine after Labor Day because COVID-19 cases in Winona had spiked, Heather, my advisor, came to me with the options. Once we had that plan in place, a lot of stress was lifted off of my shoulders. I was like, okay, it's not exactly what I had planned, but we're still gonna, have a great production.
Everyone's vote matters, and everyone plays a huge role. What makes me upset is knowing individuals who have that right, who have that privilege, and choose not to. That's what makes me mad, because it's more or less, if I was in your situation, I would do everything it takes for me to, do the right thing. But if you're just sitting there, seeing how everything is shaped out and how everything's going, and decide not to, do anything about it, then there's obviously something going on with you, and you need to check yourself out. To all the students out there, I'm with you. We're all going through the same boat. We just have to keep paddling and keep striving. We'll get to the end pretty much, so yeah.
I've probably gone on more walks since coronavirus started than I have my whole entire life. I've been learning TikTok dances, I've been finding new music, I have been talking to friends, taking baths. I guess I never realized how important mental health is and how it should be taken as seriously as physical health. So that's something that I realized, and I've been doing a lot of self-care stuff to make sure that my mental health is in check. I'm a pretty big extrovert, and so it has been really difficult to not see as many people in my everyday life, but it makes me more appreciative.
I've been sleeping better, which gives me more energy during the day so that I can exercise more and get out and go on walks since we can't use the WSU gym as often. Getting outside more, it's helped me be more mentally at peace because I love nature.
So one thing I'm doing to stay physically healthy during the pandemic is cycling. It's something I really picked up back in probably March or April when the pandemic started. It's a great way to kind of take care of myself and see really the all kind of these wonderful areas around us. There's this stress of fearing this disease that's out there. And then there's this stress of maybe having to lock down and substantially change your lifestyle. All of that has really made the public more on edge and really more sensitive to these political issues. You know, the pandemic has really kind of brought to light a lot of disparities that are out there and whatnot.
I would say the difficult part about being in public health is you can't control what everyone does. We know that choices matter, and you want people to listen to public health experts and follow guidelines and things like that. So when you see people not doing that, it definitely kind of feels like your work is pointless, but it's not pointless at all. It's just, it's difficult to try so hard to help other people that don't want the help. But otherwise, I think that we have a lot of power to come together and overcome this in each community. It's just at the community level and individual level, we need to work together instead of choosing sides and going back and forth. Most of the visuals of protests I've seen, people are wearing masks and distancing, but in the cases that they aren't, I would assume that it would spread. It just depends on the protest and the people and if they're going to make the decision to. But for most of the protests in Winona that I've seen, everyone's wearing masks and keeping a good distance and spreading out. So I'm always really happy to see those going on and to see individuals protesting as well as practicing being safe.
So the way that the pandemic has changed my life as a student is all of my classes are on Zoom.
Being online at first when COVID started, it helped my anxiety and stuff with school because working from home and doing schoolwork from home was much more calming because we could have, work on our own schedule and like go at our own pace and stuff like that. But other than that, after a while, it started getting kind of more to the point where things became a distraction. When COVID first broke out in March, there was a lot of racism towards people of Asian descent. Even though no one has been directly racist towards me, it was really scary to go out to grocery stores and out in public in general when COVID first started because I was afraid to breathe around people, and I just felt very, very out of place and unwanted just because of a virus that doesn't affect, it didn't have any direct connection to who I was as a person.
The biggest thing that the protests and the movements have impacted on me is just like my awareness and my education on the subject. I think before I didn't realize like how bad it really was and how horribly things were really, really going until I like started looking into it and seeing the footage from the riots in Minneapolis and like that kind of stuff. Like I think it's just really, really broadened my mind and it made me want to have a voice. I want to use my white privilege to spread the word and to help the people that I can. So I did go to a protest in Winona where we just walked around downtown basically and held up signs and talked about George Floyd, and I think that was really awesome. I feel awesome about being a part of that. It was amazing to see how many people in Winona actually like came together as a whole.
I did go to one protest here in Winona. It was an amazing feeling to be in such a community that like everyone felt like they had a place in that moment.
Being white, straight, female, I have a lot of privilege as it is, and so I don't feel like I'm going to be on the necessarily chopping block of any like policies that they're going to enact and stuff. I think that it's going to affect the students that I work with in the future. as far as the racial injustices and everything. And overall, my 2020 year has been crazy. It's had some extreme highs, it's had some extreme lows, mentally, physically.
I think everyone's really going through it with 2020, and I think it's really important that we unite as much as possible, even though with the election there's such a crazy divide. But yeah, hopefully 2020 gets better by Christmas.
It all started with the shooting of Jacob Blake. Immediately after that, Black Lives Matter protest started in Kenosha. And they started peacefully during the days, which was awesome. We were following everything right away. There was a lot of attention to that protest from the mayor, from police. There still has been protests and everything going on in Kenosha during the day. A few weeks ago, I actually drove down, and a local Jeep club, I drive a Jeep, had a Kenosha Strong Jeep drive where we all met up at a local school, and we all had American flags on our Jeep. We were driving around town. Everybody was super happy. That wasn't a political statement. It was like, hey, we're Kenosha, we're in this together. Let's fight this. Let's make our city better because of this. And that was really cool.
I am the Crisco After Dark director for the Warrior Entertainment Network. COVID has affected my Fridays because I have not yet gone to the bars, so I can't be social and have that experience. The political climate has affected my everyday life in small and big ways. Being a part of big things, it's hard to take in everything that is coming at me and have a viewpoint because there's so many different sides to everything. So it's very hard to be one-sided or just have a strong opinion. I think the presidential race is interesting. There's been a lot of back and forth. I do love how our generation has made everything a meme. It's kind of funny to look at and kind of see it in our own viewpoints. I think it's important to realize where we are and what we have to know where we can go and how can we move forward.
I think I am more involved this year than I was last year, which is very surprising. I definitely got to meet new people, especially my residents. They are amazing, but not only that, but I get to be part of something bigger, and even though classes are online, we have to learn how to adapt. It became concerning to me all the way back to China when it started, just because a lot of people were getting affected even if it weren't in the US.
With being quarantined, I can't do as much as I wanted to, let's say be in classes all the time or having to adjust everything online, and that's been kind of unfortunate. I wish I can have a normal college experience, but I'm making the best of it. I still get to do, I guess, the normal college stuff, live in my dorm and go to campus events, but honestly, I don't know what college would actually be like without a pandemic, because this is all I know so far.
George Floyd, I believe my wife and I were watching the 10 o'clock news, and the footage came on about the arrest and apprehension and unfortunately the death of George Floyd.
I'm really lost for words because things like that has always been happening, but it took so long to get recognition or like enough anger until like we started to protest.
What I viewed it as, I literally felt like the world like got set on fire because like so much was happening all at once. 2020 hasn't been the best year, I guess, for everyone. Like it's been really hectic, but it's actually really interesting to be a part of something like historic.
That Sunday before the week, I think that's like my prep day to get my life together, to get me in the zone of that week. Just try and get my mentality back into that positive way.
I have long weekends every week, and it's not good. They're really unstructured, and I find myself doing a lot of nothing, and it's bad, but it's hard when I don't see the concrete like, I'm not going to class, I'm not turning in papers or taking a physical test, so it's hard to see or like understand that like time is progressing.
I kind of think like the life is still normal too. I kind of move like life is still normal. Granted, I still wear my mask and everything, but I still go to work every day. I still go to school every day. You know, I think of the positives in that. Sometimes on the weekends, I find myself in like a little bit of a funk. Like, here we go again, another week. I just have to get through this week. I say that every week. I just have to get through this week and I'll be fine.
In 2016, like everyone is like making those memes of like, you know, Trump's elected. We live in a simulation, like making that joke. And like part of me is like, man, if I could tell me 4 years ago, like, you think this is crazy? Just wait till you get to the sci-fi movie that is 2020.
The pandemic has highlighted more ways in which we're divided in the country, and I think part of it is because of this polarization. And it shouldn't be like that because it's not politics, it's a disease.
I think that she just like glitter.
It's an election year and we don't really know what's going to happen to our bodies and our choices. So I think some people, this can be a super emotional thing for people because while they are here in the comfort of people who understand and love them, they know that there are people out there who aren't going to vote for their best decision.
Yeah, everyone has the right to speak up for themselves, and there's people that can't use their voice, especially like on the border, and there's other women who are not being allowed to go to get an abortion at Planned Parenthood, for example. So it's important to use your voice. If you have a privilege, use your voice, might as well. Don't sit back, use your voice.
It's important to know your rights, and especially when talking to people who say they care so much about the Constitution, it's important to know that you can protest and you can safely protest, especially during the pandemic. It's why we are all encouraging face masks and social distancing. It's really important for college kids especially to know their rights because it really is our world. This is the world that we're going to have to live in for the remainder of our lives, and it's important now more than ever to voice your opinion and voice change.
Some days are better than others when I think about it. Sometimes I'm like excited to go off and like start my life. But other times I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to school for, is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. Having experienced like what it was like before, definitely haven't had the full college experience, but I think it's also kind of cool because like not a lot of people like in the future can say that they will have gone through it. So I don't know. It's not fun, but someday I'll be to my kids, yeah, my college experience was a pandemic.
I found out a lot about myself this year amidst all the chaos, but I think the world did too. I'm excited to tell my grandkids about how we made history in 2020.
Okay, so how am I preparing for the week, one may ask? I am currently procrastinating on my homework, so I'll be doing that after this. The question was how to prepare for the week, and the thing is I don't know.
That felt like a Disney. Hi, I'm Jake Schumacher, and you're watching Disney. You know, we're all in this together. Dun, dun, dun.
Hopefully 2020 is better.
2021.
2021.